According to the Ohio State University, wheat prices are hitting a 14-year high. The war in Ukraine is driving the surge, and Ohio farmers are deciding whether they can fill that void. Spectrum News 1 agriculture expert Andy Vance joins me now to discuss the dynamics of the wheat market. Hey there, Andy.
Howdy, Chuck.
Thanks for being with us. Analysts report that Russia and Ukraine make up about 30% of the world's wheat exports. First, can you talk a little bit about the loss in that supply and where that wheat would have gone in terms of end products?
One of the things that's really interesting about Ukraine is it's often been referred to as the breadbasket of Europe. That Black Sea region, so productive, great soils there, really good agricultural region of the country. So the inability of that country and Russia, which also has some productive ground, particularly with regard to wheat, to not be able to export 30%, as you noted, of the market, that's significant. And so you have, this situation where countries like Australia, India, and the United States are trying to fill that gap. But it's a challenge for U.S. farmers because if you think about when we were planting winter wheat, which is the dominant variety of wheat we grow here in Ohio, as an example, we were planting that wheat well before this situation. And so it makes it a struggle for the U.S. to try to bridge that gap.
Now, earlier this week, I traveled to Mount Gilead in Morrow County to speak with Ray Van Horn. He's a wheat farmer and the vice chair of the Ohio Small Grains Marketing Program for the Ohio Corn and Wheat Growers Association. Now, despite the void left by Russia and Ukraine, he says Ohio farmers grow, like you said, that red winter wheat, and that crop is planted in the fall, way before war broke out overseas.
Well, just for instance, everything that's going on in the Ukraine, everybody thinks the U.S. is planting more wheat to recover from that, but just for my case, we planted our wheat in September last year, and we didn't know the Ukraine thing was even going to happen. And luckily for myself, I feel like I'm ahead of the game, but for most farmers, it won't be any effect on them until probably next September at planting time for the wheat.
Now, Van Horn says that 2023 year will be a make or break year for a lot of farmers. There's a drought in the West and the war in Ukraine, but profits will need to be compared against input costs like fertilizer and fuel. So can you talk a little bit about the difficult decision farmers are going to have to make in the future?
And a lot of those farmers are making some of those decisions now because if you look traditionally, Ohio farmers will follow a corn-soybean rotation. And sometimes they will include wheat into that rotation if they need to do drainage work in a given field, or maybe if prices tip them toward wheat, like for example, maybe this year we'll tip farmers to plant more wheat this fall. But weather also plays a huge role as well. So right now we've had a super wet spring here in central Ohio. Are farmers going to be able to get corn in the field, or do they have to punt and plant soybeans where maybe they had intended to plant corn? And then wheat will play a role in that as well. You say, for example, if you have a later harvest in the fall because you had a late planting season, does that derail plans to get wheat in the ground because you have a window in the fall where you can get wheat in the ground, and if it's too late, maybe then you don't get the crop planted before a first freeze? There's just a lot of factors that will go in. Profitability, absolutely one of them, as is weather and a variety of other issues in terms of how you plan your crop rotation.
A lot of factors, and thanks for breaking it all down. If you at home would like to learn more about this topic or catch up on all of our previous ag reports, head to our website, SpectrumNews1.